Okay, we're live on the Kingdoms podcast. Today, I have with me a very important guest. He's somebody who I look up to, and he is the president of the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Please make welcome David Feldman. How are you, David?
I'm doing well, my man. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you very much for honoring the invitation to the King James podcast. So, you are a very busy man. Let's get down to brass tacks real quick. So, the very first question I ask people on the podcast is how is childhood? How was childhood and growing up for them in order to understand, the basic and fundamental personality. So, for you, what was childhood like and what was growing up for like you?
Say that question one more time. I'm sorry.
I was like, what was your childhood like? Like, who were your childhood heroes? Who were your childhood
A
influences?
childhood.
So,
Sorry.
how did your childhood influence you as a person?
Yeah, I had a honestly, my childhood is the reason why I succeed right now because I actually had a very bad childhood, and things didn't go
Mm,
the way they were supposed to go for me. And I dealt with a lot of stuff through my childhood years, and it took me a long time to figure out um, how to overcome the setbacks and the obstacles that I had as a child, and some of the things that happened in my childhood, and to turn them around and use them as a driving force. And that's why, really, why I'll never quit and I'll never stop is because I was told I was supposed to stop. I was told I was never going to be anything. I was told I shouldn't be anything in life. And as I went through a lot of stuff as a child, and as I got into adulthood, it carried over with me. And then when I was able to turn that all around and use it as a driving force, my whole life changed. And I just see things through a more positive light and understand that bad things that happen to you can turn into really good, and can turn into really good and make you want to do really good for other people as well, because you don't want other people to go through some of the things that you went through. And
mm.
that's why, really, just why I'll never quit. Like, that's why I'll probably be very successful in this, just because I won't quit. And I'm going to find a way to make this the best thing in the world. And, it's on its way to get there. It's got a long way to go, but we're not going to stop until we get there.
Wow, fantastic. Like I was telling you before we hit the record button, right? I look up to you a lot, and things that resonate with you, that also resonate with me, is that positive energy. I see the positive energy in you. I see the spirit of determination, resilience, right? That never give up spirit, and it is very, very fantastic. And you also give hope. You inspire other people to do better in life. And it's great to speak with you today. So can you actually take us back to your early days, your early career, and like what inspired you to become heavily involved in combat sports?
I actually was born into it. My father was a professional boxer and then turned into training 7 world champions. My mother got seriously injured. Has a lot of bad stuff happened to her. She ended up in a wheelchair and was a quadriplegic, paralyzed from her neck down. And my dad then turned our house kind of into a training camp where a lot of the fighters just came in the house and lived with us all through my childhood years. So I've been
Mm,
around combat sports my whole life. I turned into a professional boxer, and then I started promoting fights in my late 20s. I kind of didn't really like it, to be honest with you. I didn't like the people in the business. It was the wrong kind of people there, and I'm going to get to that later as I explain
okay,
why
okay.
why I started bare knuckle. But I just I I then started promoting boxing matches with my brother. We partnered on some stuff, and then I started into mixed martial arts and did some more boxing, and then I just wanted to do something different, and that's where I get into this. Is I wanted to create a sport that wasn't infected at all, right? It didn't have the bad people in it that are in these other sports, that are in it for the wrong reasons, that are in it just for money and just to see what they can take off the athletes. Obviously want to make money with this business. I certainly do. I want to spread it around though, and I want everybody to be treated fair. And I'm not saying I want to change the whole world in combat sports, meaning I can't change everything about how, you know, fighters are paid and fighters are treated, but I just feel like you should make them a part of the team and treat them right. And that's kind of why we started our own thing. And the vision that we had was to create something very, very exciting, very fast paced for today's society. As we know, today's society, they're always looking for, to look at something for 2 minutes and then look at something else and then look at something else.
They're like viral moments.
That's it. And we gave them those, what we say is the oh shit moment. We gave them the oh shit moment, and we gave them really fast paced stuff. And, we treat the fighters good, man. We make them a part of the company. We make them earn money with sponsorships, with selling the pay-per-views, with selling tickets, with a lot of different avenues. And, we just try to, we try to treat everybody right. And, I live by do the right thing, right? Like, I'm not saying, give all your stuff away and do that. But if you're questioning, should I do it this way or do it that way? Then I just say, do the right thing, right? I say it to my people all the time. What do you think is right? And they go, well, this way. But then it's going to cost us this. I said, but which way is right? And I'll tell them, and they'll say this way. And I'll say, do it that way then, because it'll always work out for you in the end. It might not work out for you that minute, but in the end, it'll always work out for you if you do the right thing.
Oh, wow, interesting. A quick one. Have you actually taken the 16 personality test?
No.
Okay, I think you should take that test, right? Because when I took the test recently, and one of the characteristics that they said my personality has is you are always willing to stand up for the right thing, even when it is difficult, even when it is challenging. And I see that actually resonates with you as well, right? It's, a lot of times, standing up for the right thing is not the popular opinion. But when you stand up for the right thing, in the end, you discover that it actually pays off in the long run, right?
Yeah. No, I
Do you
never
agree with
watched
that?
that. That was something that my dad always said. When we're just growing up, he's like, do the right thing. I would ask him, should I do this or should I do that? Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. It's not easy. It's not easy all the time. It's
It's
not
not
the
always
fastest way.
easy.
It's not the shortest way. But at the end of the road, and that's
Mm.
really where success comes in, right? You have to have a vision to see to the end of the road. Because as you're driving down that long road and it's dark and it's rainy and you can't see where you're going, and you're going to get tired and you're going to say, man, should I keep driving? I don't see the end of the road. Or should I stop and turn around and quit and turn around? And you have to have the patience to get to the end of the road. And if you have the patience to get to the end of the road, you succeed. And if you succeed, it's because you did the right thing. You did what you were supposed to do, and you put the time and the work in. And you have to be able to see to the end of the road. You really do. Because if you don't see to the end of the road, you don't have to get all the way to the end of the road always. But if you can't see to the end of the road, you won't be successful.
Interesting. So one thing I really admire about you and your organization is the fact that you place a lot of priority on taking care of the fighters, right? Because these guys are bleed for you. People like Mike Perry, people like Lorenzo Hans, right? They always speak the good word about BKFC, saying how you have changed their lives, how you have put their money up, right? You have actually changed their money game, right? How does it feel for you knowing that you actually change people's lives and they're always speaking good about you? Like how does it feel for you?
I mean, it's awesome, but it's do the right thing. Now, listen, I'm not a sucker either. I'm not just paying everybody good money that's not helping me. The guys that want to push this sport and talk about it and help it and blow it up, those are the guys that are gonna make the money here. The guys that are drawing in the views, that are getting people to watch this thing, that get people to buy tickets, those are the people that we're gonna do the right thing for. I'm not just like an open wallet and say, hey, here, take this. But if you're doing the right thing for us, again, it goes back to do the right thing. If they're doing the right thing, then we're gonna do the right thing. So do the right thing, promote it right, talk good about us, do everything the right way, and then you're going to get taken care of. And yeah, look, it feels great when people say, man, I was going to do this and, I was depressed or I contemplated, not even going on in life because life was going so bad for me. And I met you and I fought for you and you changed my life. I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Interesting, interesting. So one thing I admire as well about you and your organization is the fact you get to focus on your organization, unlike other presidents, other executives of other fighting championships. They like to compare themselves with other people, right? We see other promotions. For example, I am a diehard MMA fan, for example. I see how the other guys try to compare themselves with the UFC, right? You are not the UFC, you are you. So focus on you, right? I see you are like the forefront of bare knuckle fighting right now, and other guys are trying to compare themselves with you. How do you feel when these guys, try to talk down on you just to make themselves feel good? How does that feel?
It's we just focus on ourselves. I had a meeting with Dana White a couple weeks ago, and
I
the
saw I
one
saw that. I saw your picture of Dana. How did he go?
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk about a lot of things we talked about, but I
Okay.
found out a lot about him. Great guy, smart, like knows what he's doing. He blew this thing up. He's got a lot of great ideas, and he's actually a real good guy, man. He's a good guy. But what we talked about is I said, we talked about some of my numbers and where I was going, and I said he was like, "Wow, that's pretty good." I said, "I just focus on myself. I don't compare myself to you." I said, "A lot of people say I'm the next Dana White, I'm the next this, I'm the next that," and I go, "Man, that's a compliment, right?" As far as growing in combat sports business, if they're comparing me to the best, that's an amazing thing. When what you said is these other guys that want to talk bad about me and things like that, that's okay. Let them talk bad. It's all part of the game. Focus on yourself, focus on your goal, stay in your lane, right? And that's what we do. We focus on our only competition. We feel is ourselves. Are we going to put a better show on than we did last time? Are we going to treat the guys better than we did last time? Are we going to get better fighters in the organization than we did the fight before? And as long as we keep doing that, we're going to keep growing. And I don't see an end in the near future for us at all.
Interesting. So, bare knuckle is actually quite unique, and it's relatively like a new addition in terms of promotion because apparently it has a long history, right? But then in terms of packaging something into a proper promotion and serving it to the combat sport audience, right? So, what really inspired you to start, that promotion, which is focused on just bare knuckle fighting? What was the inspiration, really?
I just wanted to do something different. I wanted to create something different. I knew that promoting mixed martial arts and promoting boxing, I would be a me too. I would be another organization that was doing what everybody else did. And to succeed in something like that, you need millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to do that. And I didn't have that. So I said, let's create something new, create something different, create something that this is the key word, is relatable. Relatable to everybody in the world. Because look, you're an MMA fan. If you weren't, and I went up to you and I said, "Do you know what a umapalata is?" You'd probably go, "No." Do you know what a darts choke is? Know what a
That's joke.
scalp choke is? No, right? Most people don't. But every
Yeah, most
single
people do not
man,
know those
every
technical
single
terms.
man, woman, child, adult, black, white, Chinese, doesn't matter how old you are. If I ask you, do you know what a bare knuckle punch is? Every single person in the world knows what it is. That's why it's so relatable. So I wanted to create something relatable that the people could understand and it was easy for them to know. And now, we're just putting on, I think, some of the best fights out there. And, we created our own lane. We just created our own sport, our own lane. And that's why we really don't have a lot of competition. The only thing we really compete with some other organizations over is fighters, but we're not really competing with them on views and things like that because we're different.
Oh wow, interesting. So, anyways, in business school, there was some strategy that I learned. It's called the blue ocean strategy, right? That is contesting in uncontested market spaces, and that is exactly what you have done. You created a blue ocean strategy for yourself, and of course, it's really working out well. Fantastic one. You guys started in 2018, right? That is in June 2018, and now you have like 57 numbered events, right?
Well, our journey actually started in 2009 is when I tried to get it legal. So I started trying to
Oh
get it legal in
wow.
2009. It took me, almost 10 years to get it legal.
To
And
get
then when I
illegal. Wow.
first, when I finally got it legal, we did 3 fights the first year, 5 fights the second year, 12 fights the third year, 29 fights last year. And we're projected to do 42 fights in 2024.
Oh, wow. So what were the biggest challenges you faced, when establishing BKFC, both in terms of the regulatory hurdles, gaining acceptance from fans and fighters?
I think the biggest hurdle that I faced was really just perception, right? When you mention bare knuckle fighting, people go, "Oh, wow, brutal." What is it? A backyard street fight? Is it in a bar fight? No, it's a very well produced, well organized event that has some of the best combat sports athletes in the world in it. But if they don't watch it, they don't know, and they perceive it to be something else. So perception, me changing perception is probably the biggest thing and the biggest hurdle and the biggest obstacle that I have to go through. Even through today, it is. I have to change everybody's perception. But we've done a great job on changing the fans' perception and really changing the regulatory perception on this, because now that they allow themselves to watch it and actually learn about it and educate themselves on it, they understand what it is. They understand that the injuries aren't as much as they think they are. They're not even as much as other combat sports. And it's exciting, and it's really, really fun to watch. And once they allow themselves to educate themselves on that, it's really game over for us.
Interesting. So BKFC has actually gained significant attention, right, due to that perception change. And of course, it has a fast-paced and intense style, right, of fighting. So how do you see the sport evolving in the coming years, and what role do you envision your organization playing in the broader landscape of combat sports?
I always say, I think a lot of these interviews I've been doing, I think 3 to 5 years were definitely the number two combat sports promotion in the world. We could be the biggest because it's so relatable, but it'll be hard to do anything bigger than what the UFC is doing. They've created themselves into a complete juggernaut, and they're doing a hell of a job. But people compare us, like I said, to the UFC. If we can be half of what the UFC is, or 25% of what the UFC is, we hit a grand slam, and I think that's where we end up in the next 3 years.
Oh, wow, interesting. Speaking of the UFC, I'm actually a very, very big fan of the UFC, right? And I have seen a lot of crossovers from the UFC into BKFC. So is it and I saw you with Dana White, right? So is it possible we have some sort of partnership with the UFC at any point in the near future?
I really don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's something that they would do. I would do it. Absolutely. I would. That's why I'm meeting with all these different owners of these bigger organizations, like the owner from Ryzen, Saki Gabor. I met with him as well. I want to see what we can do. I want to see how we can kind of, not everybody work together, but look, you just saw, I don't know if you just saw the big app that's coming out now, with all the big networks are coming together to create the biggest sports app in the world. ESPN, Fox, Turner, they're all coming together and they're creating the biggest sports app in the world. So why can't some of
Wow.
the big combat sports promotions in the world come together and put on some of the biggest fights in the world?
Oh, wow, interesting. Speaking of apps, the UFC have the UFC Fight Pass. Is there like any plan for you to also broadcast your content on UFC Fight Pass?
No, we have our own app, the BKFC. We're looking at doing some other things with some other major platforms. So no, we're not going to do anything with them right now. But uh, you know, you never know what happens in the
Uh,
future.
yeah, the features for the taking, right? So you guys have gained a lot of attention and popularity in a relatively short time. So what do you think sets bare knuckle fighting apart from other combat sports, and how do you see its place in the future of
I
combat sports generally?
I think it's exciting. It's the most exciting combat sport out there. You can't turn away from it. You can't blink your eye. It's fast paced. Anything can happen at any time there. And I think it really adapts and relates to every fan in the world, really. And I think that we're at a great place right now. I mean, we've grown faster than any other combat sports organization has ever grown in 5.5 years. So we're in a great spot to really, really expand this thing and keep moving. And we're excited to do that.
Wow. Fast growing. You guys are really, really fast growing. In business school, once again, like, oh, I don't know if you saw my profile, right? I am a finance guy, right? I'm a chartered accountant, got an MBA, right? So I'm just like a very, very big fan of combat sports. But then I like to bring in the business side. I like to bring in the finance, the numbers, right? In order to analyze, combat sports as well, right? So you guys have actually like gone through like a lot of challenges, right? And seeing the numbers grow. I can, in terms of the business model, you guys are like a star product, right? So sometimes we have, what you have the cash cows, you have the stars, you have the problem child, but then you guys are the stars with the kind of meteoric growth that you guys have had, in a very, very short period of time. Now, as a president, you have actually encountered like various challenges and successes, right? But then can you actually share a memorable moment or a turning point that significantly impacted the trajectory of BKFC right now?
Yeah, I think there was a few of them, but I think the most important moment and most memorable moment was when we did our fight in Denver, Colorado on April 29th of last year. And we had two former UFC world champions fighting in the main event and co-main event. Sold out crowd, our biggest crowd to date. And we had a special surprise appearance by Conor McGregor. Came in, got in our ring, and challenged Mike Perry. I think that really sent viral moments out to the combat sports community.
Yeah,
And
I think somebody gave him his belt as well.
yeah, Lorenzo Hunt. He actually took
Lorenzo
Lorenzo's
Hart.
belt. Lorenzo gave it to him. He went in the ring, and I think that was a huge turning point for us. I think that was a moment where everybody was like, "Man, this is real." Look, like because we also had 5 or 6 other UFC world champions and 6 boxing world champions in attendance that night. So, you know, when the best fighters in the world are watching our organization, that means a lot to us. They could watch anything in the world, but they're choosing to watch this, and I think that shows the fans really what they should be watching as well.
Wow, fantastic. That really was a great moment, right? But let me put you on the spot. I know you are the president, right? And I know you love all of your fighters. But then if you were to have a Mount Rushmore for BKFC fighters, who are those 4 guys that will be that their heads would be there?
Yeah, you know
who
what? I
who are
don't want
those
to
guys?
avoid the answer, but somebody asked me that like 3 years ago, and I did it, and I had like 10 fighters hate me, so I'm not going
Oh
to do that.
wow.
I'm sorry, man. I mean, look, honestly, if you told me the top 10, I could probably do that, but I can't narrow it down to 4. I
Okay,
mean,
let's do top 10. Let's do top 10. Let's do top 10
well,
then.
there's guys.
Top
Look,
10.
there's guys that are some of the best fighters that I have. There's guys that are needle movers as far as popularity. I mean, you obviously got um, Mike Perry, you got Eddie Alvarez on there, you got Lorenzo Hunt, you got Dave Mundell, you've got Reggie Barnett, who just got beat. You got Christine Faria, you got Bret Hart, you got all these people that have been with us for a long time and are creating a lot of legacy really with us. And you had Joey Beltran, you had guys on there that have been with us for a long time. So I don't really just want to name who's who, but I'll tell you, man, we've got a lot of great fighters and a lot of people that really help mold this thing into what it is today. Um, you know, that's going to be my answer for
Yeah.
that.
I like the fact that you have the juggernaut there, right? Because I think, to be honest, he got me onto BKFC. Lorenzo Hart. Like that guy does a really, really great job with the hype. He's got a really, really incredible personality, basically.
Yep.
Right? That guy is
Yeah. And
incredible. So
he promotes
my
well.
regards to him.
Yep, he's a company
Uh,
guy. We're going to announce his next fight on Monday.
Oh wow, interesting. On Monday, interesting. I'd like to have him on the podcast as well. Like that guy is fantastic. That guy does a really, really great job for you guys.
Yeah.
So as a leader, right? So what values or principles do you prioritize, in your promotion, and how do you aim to differentiate BKFC from the other combat sports organizations?
It's really, like I said, do the right thing, but it's do what you say and say what you do. All right.
Hmm.
If I tell these guys I'm
Hmm.
going to do something for them, I got to do it. And if they tell me they're going to do something for me, they got to do it. All right. And if I do something, it has to be what I said I was going to do. I can't do something different from what I said. I just be who you are and be how treat the people how you want to be treated. I mean, it's just life in general, but that's what happens. And if I treat these guys right and I show them that they're a part of the team and I show them they're a part of the family and I show them they're a part of the growth and I give them a chance to earn extra money at the fights, with my pre-fight speeches, I always offer bonuses to guys to go out there and fight their hardest. I just motivate these guys. A big thing with me is loyalty, but there's, in the fight game, there's not a ton of loyalty. But I ask these
Yeah.
guys to be loyal because if they're loyal to me, I'm loyal back to them. And, Just really, truly, just treat people you want to be treated, man. That's really what you got to do.
Oh, interesting. Pinocchio, it actually has a long history in terms of the history of combat sports, but a lot of people do not realize that Pinocchio has a long history. I remember sometime, I think Tyson Fury was saying he's from like a lineage of fighters. I think one of like his grandparents was a Pinocchio fighter, right?
Yep.
And it's interesting to see what you have actually made of the sport in the modern era, right? But then what actually made you believe that there was actually a market and an audience for, bare knuckle in today's, combat sports landscape, where you're competing with, MMA, with boxing, with, other disciplines? Like, what actually made you have that belief it was actually going to become commercial?
Because I did an underground fight back in 2008, and I watched these two guys banging it out with each other. And I left there and I said, there's no way that people don't want to see this. It was unbelievable. It
Mm,
was the best I've ever seen. Listen, you go to a baseball event, you go to a basketball event, you go to a football event, and the fight breaks out in the crowd. Where's everybody look? They look at the fight. If you go to a heavyweight championship boxing match and a fight breaks out in the crowd, you look at the fight. They're fighting with bare knuckles. You
mm.
go look at that. It's just so relatable. Everybody gets it. Everybody understands it. And once I really was like, wow, man, everybody gets it. They get this. They understand what it is. There's not going to be any way that this thing isn't as popular. The only thing I have, my challenge is doing is getting them to watch it the first time. And once they watch it the first time, it's over.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
get
if you
hooked.
watch it, it's unbelievable. Like there's nothing else like it. So if you watch it once, you become a fan for life.
Wow, interesting. So we have people transitioning from traditional boxing, from MMA to bare knuckle fighting. So what kind of adjustments do you think these fighters actually need to make in order to be successful in the sport?
I mean, they got to really learn how to pick their shots properly and place them properly. They say boxing's the sweet science. I say this is the sweetest science because you have to really make sure you're not hitting people on top of the head, and make sure you're not hitting their elbows, make sure you're not hitting hard surfaces. So they have to really pick their shots, and they have to condition their hands, right? What a lot of people don't know is we actually have less broken hands than boxing or MMA, and you would never believe that. You would think bare knuckle, they're going to break their hands left and right, but they really
Wow.
pick their shots. They really take their time and know where they're throwing. They don't throw as hard as they would throw with a glove on in fear of breaking their hand. And because of that, they don't break their hand as much, and we don't cause as much damage.
Interesting. So picking shots is a very, very essential. But then, it's interesting to see how people do not coast to victory in bare knuckle, right?
They
In
can't.
MMA, for example, you see
Well,
some people coasting to victory.
they can't, because I tell them beforehand. I said, listen, guys. I said, if you go out there, just exactly what I say verbatim. I say, guys, I want you to be safe. I want you to respect my employees. I want you to respect the commission. I want you to respect your opponent, and I want you to respect the fans. And I want you to go out there and fight your ass off. And I tell this to them. I said, if you fight your ass off and you get knocked out, you come back. If you coast to a victory and you win, you don't come back. And we need exciting
Oh.
fights. We need you to go out there and fight. And if you go out there and fight, you have a job with me forever. If you go out there and coast, you don't have a job at all. That's why.
Interesting.
Well,
That's
listen,
how we see we don't.
I give them a chance to earn extra.
Wow.
Listen, if you go out there, look, most organizations a fight. I give like 10 or 12 performance bonuses every fight.
Wow, that is massive. That is massive, really. And it's a lot of incentive. The biggest incentive, basically, to me, I don't know, maybe because I'm biased, I'm a finance guy, is the financial incentive. Because what other incentive is bigger, right? And when the fighters are incentivized, apparently, they stay hungry and they always want more.
Yep,
Right.
sure.
So we've seen like a lot of crossovers, right? Like from MMA, boxing. Like, what do you see? What do you see going forward? Do you see more crossovers happening, or do
I
you see
I do, but
people?
what I really see is people starting out the sport with bare knuckle now, not just crossing over, but do we have a lot of gyms now teaching bare knuckle fighting? So go into the gyms, learning bare knuckle fighting, training for bare knuckle fighting and starting and finishing your career as a bare knuckle fighter, not necessarily crossing over from boxing or MMA. I don't think that's going to stop. I still think a lot of boxing and MMA fighters are going to cross over. But I think what you're going to see here in the next couple of years is a lot of guys actually starting their careers just with bare knuckle.
Wow, interesting. So you actually mentioned safety earlier. So how do you guys prioritize safety for the fighters?
And it's not. I got. We have 3 or 4 ringside positions at every event. Our chief medical officer. We're one of only 2 promotions in the world that travel a chief medical officer with us. So we travel a physician with us to every fight. That's our own that we have on a payroll. Dr. Don Muzi, unbelievable physician. He was the president of the Association of Ringside Physicians for years. He's a great guy and understands this. And he knows that safety is paramount, right? You might have a little nick on the corner of a guy's eye and he'll go, "It's not bleeding. Why are you stopping the fight?" Because my doctor knows that if it cuts a little more, it might impair your eyelid from ever opening and closing again. So we're going to stop the fight. He's Safety is number 1 for us. Pre-fight medicals, making sure they're fit to fight, and checking them out after they fight are really our number 1 priorities for BKFC.
Wow, I think that's a really great one. You guys have actually featured fighters from like various backgrounds, different experience levels. Then can you discuss the scouting and the recruitment process for the fighters, and what qualities you actually look out for potential BKFC athletes?
At one point, do I what?
Like you guys have fighters from various backgrounds and different experience levels, right? But then what kind of qualities do you look out for in terms of scouting and recruitment?
I mean, I got to make sure that they have experience in there. I want to make sure that, I don't have a lot of guys that got knocked out a lot. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for guys that don't have to be the best slick boxer in the world, right? They don't have to be the best MMA fighter in the world. They got to be able to throw punches really nice, professionally. They got to be able to take a good punch, and they got to have the heart to keep going. And that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for guys. I'm not looking for the best technicians in the world. I'm looking for the best fighters in the world, the guys that want to go out there and just fight. And that's really what I'm looking for, because that's what the fans want to see. And I think in some boxing and some MMA matches recently, they're getting cheated out of good fights. I just want good fights. And I think the fans want to see good fights. I think they love it. In boxing, they love it when 2 boxers are in the middle of the ring exchanging punches. In MMA, they love it when 2 guys are in the center of the ring banging it out with each other. And that's what we do the whole entire fight.
Interesting. So what advice do you have for young aspiring fighters that intend to take up BKFC?
I mean, look, just don't quit. Walk forward. Have the guts to, if you want to compete, have the guts to walk to the guy, exchange punches, and don't quit. Now, I'm saying you might get knocked out. That's okay. You might lose. That's okay. If you come and fight hard, you're in the right place. If you're not looking to come and fight hard and entertain the crowd, then this is probably not the promotion for you.
Interesting. So being a successful sports promotion is not just about putting up the fights, right? You also have the marketing, sponsorship, building the fan base, the business side, basically. So how do you take care of the business side as well?
You build a good team. You start with a foundation, and we started with 4 guys for 3 years. We became very, very well known with only 4 full-time employees. And then we opened up to a lot more employees, obviously. It's just, I always say, man, and people say this in sayings, but it's true for me. I never want to be the smartest guy in the room. I want a bunch of smart guys around me, because then I know I'm going to grow my company the right way. And that's what I always do. I always have a room full of smart guys with me, and people that know a lot more about me in their respective trades. And that's why I know we're going to blow.
Oh, wow, interested. I like somebody who builds a great team, has a team of professionals, because I'm a professional, right? And then, I appreciate the role of professionals, and kudos to you, big ups to you. Hopefully, I should have some partnership with you in the future. We don't know what the future holds, but then I would love for that. You know, that's a really really positive one. So basically, can you share some memorable cards, right? Which ones have been your most memorable fights, your most memorable events so far in the sport?
I think Christine Furia fighting Helen Peralta was one of the best women's fights I've ever seen, and I think that made open up a lot of eyes. Jason Knight when he fought Artem Lobov, I think a lot of people started really watching then. We had former world boxing champion Paulie Malignaggi fight. I think that really got the boxers really talking about us. And then when we signed Paige Van Zandt and she started fighting for us, we got a lot of the MMA people really watching us. And then Mike
Yeah,
Perry
yeah.
Mike Perry coming on board, Eddie Alvarez, Luke Rockhold, those kind of guys. They really made a lot of guys really tune in for us. And, probably the cards that they were on were probably some of the most memorable cards. There's really been a lot of great cards, a lot of great fights. I mean, I remember one of the best fights that I've ever saw in the organization was Rhino O'Reilly fought Truckton Carson in South Carolina. It was one of the best fights that we've ever had in history so far. It was just bell to bell, fighting with, actually that was in Tampa, Florida, I think. But it was an unbelievable fight. So many of them. But I think the ones that I mentioned are the ones that really got a lot of people interested in the sport.
Yes, that's actually very true. Paige Van Zandt, for example, from the UFC, I remember vividly, like she actually drew our attention from the MMA world. So, looking, you've actually had a global impact in terms of the combat sport scene, right? So, are there in terms of numbers, right? What do you see? What are the aspirations going forward?
As far as, say the beginning of that question again, I didn't hear it.
I, I said you've actually impacted the global scene, the global combat sport scene, right? So, what are the aspirations? What are like the goals, the targets for, let's say, the next 5 years?
I mean, really, like, I want to do as big as I can do. I want to be the biggest thing we can be. But I'm in this for one reason, really, man. I want to, these people that dedicate their lives to me, these people that go out there and bleed for me and risk their life for me, man, I want to change all their lives. That's what I'm in it. I want to change their lives. And when I can change people's lives and for the better, and I know that they gave up, a lot of their life for me to help grow the business and help grow my dream, and I can hand it back to them, then I know I made it. That doesn't mean, being number one, two, three, or four. That, it's just when it comes to a certain point, I'll know when that point is. I'll know when these guys get taken care of, and when they get taken care of, then we can really have a lot of fun with this thing. But um, until everybody really gets what they're supposed to get, and it's going to be soon. Then we can, like I said, we can have fun with it, and when we have fun with it, I think that's when it really grows. Like, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but once I take care of the most important parts, and that's taking care of the people that have been there for me, and once I can do that, like really take care of them, change their lives. Once I can do that, and then we can really have fun. Who knows where this thing goes? It could be the biggest thing in the world.
Hopefully, hopefully. So, on a personal note, like what keeps you motivated, and what legacy do you want to have in
I just want
the world of combat
people.
sports?
I just want people that have faced adversities in life and, didn't think that they had what it took to accomplish anything in life. I want to be the example to them that if you try hard and you push hard enough and you have a vision and you have the will and you won't let anyone tear your dream down, that you can really do anything in the world that you want to do. And, that's really what I want to do as in my role in being able to inspire other people. I think that, I'm doing a lot to change my life personally. Like, I'm not the best person in the world and I want to be. And I try every day to be a better person. And if I can help other people be better people, and if I can give other people that vision, and if I can give other people, a chance to dream, to do something that I accomplished, I think that's all that really matters in life.
Interesting. So at the end of the podcast, right, we have a tradition where you answer a question from a previous guest and you leave a question for the next guest. So a question from a previous guest is this: if you had the power to help people to change the perspective in terms of the poverty of the mind. You know, they say poverty is not just physical, it's a thing of the mind, right? So what would you do to help people to combat, to tackle poverty of the mind?
Poverty of the mind.
And yes, poverty of the mind, that has been poor in your mind, because a lot of people are actually poor physically because they are poor from their minds. So what would you do to help people in
Just
terms of, their mindsets?
just listen. People can tell you no. Everybody can tell you that you can't be this and that you should be, impoverished in your mind and you shouldn't have the better things in life and you can't do it and you have no business being here. But it's just having the fortitude to push forward. And I think that if you just push forward, you change that and you don't have to have the poverty in your mind. You can have the riches in your mind. And the riches in your mind come from inside. They don't come from anything else. They come from you. And when you can teach yourself to just keep moving forward and keep being the best that you can be, being the best that you can be doesn't mean that you have $1 million or $10 million or $100 million. You might have $10. You might have no money, but being the best you can and to help motivate other people. I think when I started realizing, I had a lot of issues in my life. And when I started realizing that I wanted to help other people and help other people accomplish their goals, that's when I started realizing that I was accomplishing my goals. So I think just having the
Hmm.
fortitude and the no quit in you to just keep moving forward, I think, that takes all the bad stuff away from you.
Interesting. So what question would you like to leave for the next guest?
Um, if you could change anything in the world, one thing in the world to make the world a better place, what would it be?
If you could change one thing in the world to make the world a better place, what thing would that thing be, right? Okay, the next guest have
Yep.
their work cut out for them. So who would you like to give a shout out to before you leave today?
I mean, I got just give a shout out to my team. I got the best team in the world, the most loyal team in the world. Um, my family, my wife, Christina, for making all the sacrifices that she makes to make me travel all over the world and come home. And I have a wife that takes care of me. It's amazing to be in that position. I thank her and I thank my family. I thank the fans. I thank the fighters. I mean, there's so many people to thank, man. The fighters that bleed for me, they bleed for the fans that day after day, fight after fight, come in and support us and tell other people to watch us, and the team that works way, way harder than they're supposed to work right now, thank everybody.
Speaking of thank yous, thank you very much, David Feldman. God bless you. It's been a really, really great one speaking with you today. And I hope that your story inspires a lot of people. I hope your story inspires people not to give up and to make something better of their lives. So
Awesome.
thank you very
Awesome.
much one more
Welcome.
time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.